Oh, well. Today I am a lucky man because I have got some Dunhill internationals, and this really shows just how disingenuous and grotesque, or just grossly so, the Canadian government is to allow them to sell this name cigarettes that, for perspective, just look at the difference. Look at the difference, okay? There's a Canadian one. There's a real one. And you know what my folks paid for a carton of these in Egypt? $40. You know how much a pack of these costs in Canada? $25. And oh my god, like most cigarettes, I hate the aftertaste, but so like I want to have coffee or something, so I get that ashtray cancer taste out of my mouth. But man, these are something special. These are, just such a treat. Like you can detect sort of an array of berries and what tastes kind of like a burley, which is it's a tobacco that's been sort of fermented and treated to have this sort of spicy taste. Like if you've ever had an American Spirit Perique, which you can only get in the States, it's kind of similar to that, but nowhere near as strong. It's very subtle. These have a much lighter throat hit than the Canadian ones. They burn much longer. They're just like you don't have to spank the pack because these things are packed down as they are. So it's probably, can't say for sure, but it's probably natural tobacco. But I exhale slowly with these because they taste so good. And oh man, I mean, I don't want to glorify smoking or anything, but man, oh man, is it just a travesty that these have been sold under false pretenses for so long in my country? And you know, they're classy. These are classy fucking looking cigarettes. And the filters, like with these guys, the filters would be falling apart by about halfway through. With these, they stay strong all the way through. Now, despite being full flavor, I can tell there is a small little perforation right around here, which is what makes a cigarette light. It's the amount of perforations. So essentially, you know, holes in the filter, so oxygen is brought in with the smoke. And it's actually worse for you to smoke light cigarettes because you have to pull them down, you have to pull the smoke down deeper into your lungs. They found that people, consciously or otherwise, will block those perforations on their own by putting their fingers over them or lipping up on the cigarette, so they're blocking the perforations. So the whole light cigarette thing is just kind of a joke anyways. It's a duplicitous means of making people think they are indeed smoking something that is going to be lighter on their throat and their lungs and overall better for them. And there's also less nicotine and tar in these than there are in the Canadian ones, which, you know, is baffling considering the whole notion of the Canadian ones is, it's we pride ourselves on regulating things so they're more healthy for you. And it's like, well, no, you're just you're adding all these fucking unnecessary chemicals. And I mean, although you can tell that, you know, these have those little ridges around them, but I mean, most cigarettes, even rolling papers around the world do. And those little lines that you see, what that is carpet glue. It's made to keep the cigarette from continually burning unless you're puffing on it. And so like I'll say I'll leave this for a few seconds. You'll start to see a little bit of brown sort of forming around the cherry, but it's nothing like with the Canadian ones where you see just blotches of what looks like brown tar starting to form around the top. And with these, no, they burn very, very evenly all the way through. And if you leave them without puffing on them, a little bit of brown, see, a little bit will form, but not much. These are truly a luxury fucking cigarette, and like they've got a less robust body than the Canadian ones, so don't have a very strong throat hit like the Canadian ones, but it's kind of a good thing. It's not to the same degree as say like a cigarette that's advertised as light, but it reminds me of something like pipe tobacco, where there's just a lot of flavor to it. And I know Dunhill does make some very nice, expensive pipe tobacco. I've bought it like once because A, it's very hard to find, B, very expensive. And smoking a tobacco pipe it's a hard thing to do. It takes skill, it takes patience and all that, but these are there's something special, man, and I am going to savor every last puff. Just like delectable. It just really hits the flavor palette in all the best ways possible. And it's really a treat for the senses. Again, I'm not saying become a smoker if you are in the UK or whatever and you don't smoke. If you don't smoke, I'd say don't start, because it is a nasty habit. It is an expensive habit. Will give you fucking phlegm gems. You'll be hacking up fucking tar and stuff like that. But for someone like me who's been a smoker for a long time, and in a country where cigarettes are so expensive that because mostly taxation, they've raised the taxes like twice over the last year. So as I said, you pay about $25 a pack for the fake versions of these or any other premium cigarette. And every other premium cigarette, like Camels, Marlboro, they're all fake. They're not the same thing as what you would get in the States, or like Rothmans, like you'd get in the UK. They're not the same thing. Even American spirits, they're very different. It's just straight Virginia. It's like the government of Canada is going, if it doesn't taste like pure cancer, we can't sell it. Like they even stopped selling Dejarons, which are clove cigarettes with pipe tobacco. And if they did still sell Dejarons, I may have quit smoking by now, because like with pipe tobacco, would smoke them with the intent on not inhaling them, but just kind of letting the smoke drift out of your mouth while you enjoy the flavor. But they say, oh, the cloves are similar to menthol, so that menthol flavoring would appeal to children. It's like, no. I hated menthols growing up. I fucking hated menthols until they made them illegal. And I think the only reason I whatever flavor of menthol now is because it's just the fun of knowing I'm doing something I'm not supposed to be doing. But since they've imposed these taxes, like the use of like red cigarettes, native cigarettes, which are they're just god awful for you. I mean, I can't even smoke them because like they make me feel like such shit after smoking them. And like the filter's falling apart. It's obviously very cheap material they use to make them with. They're just disgusting. But like 65% of smokers smoke them now, and that's what happens. And they say like, you know, oh well, we raise the taxes because we have free healthcare. So, you know, someone's got to pay for the cancer treatment these smokers need. And it's like, yeah, but you guys also have programs where you're giving out as much free Nicorette and nicotine patches as any person wants if they ask to quit smoking. And those things cost, like, no joke, like $40 for a pack of nicotine gum. So all that money that they are giving away on, you know, nicotine replacement stuff is complete. It's wasting probably the same amount of money, if not more money, than what is required to treat those cancer patients who got cancer as a result of smoking. And, you know, everyone knows that smoking is bad for them. You know, you don't have to drill it into people's heads. And I believe it's I believe cigarettes would be a little less addictive in public consensus if it wasn't drilled into our heads that, oh, this is harder to kick than cocaine and heroin combined. Like, I was told that so many times growing up. They had, you know, the same warnings they have on cigarette packages. They had them on posters in my elementary school classrooms. And so it was this fear-based means of going, oh, if that hook gets in you, you're never going to get that hook out. Well, hey, maybe if you stopped telling us they're so addictive, because they're not physically addictive, they're psychologically addictive. So, you know, say if I was to go without cigarettes, I would get irritable, but I wouldn't be writhing and shaking and fucking like just feeling great malaise as a result of not having a cigarette. I would just be grumpy and a little pissed off. But for me, I mean, like, fuck, I've kicked the hardest drugs on the planet and the most physically addictive drugs on the planet, and there's nothing I quit more than cigarettes. And it's probably because I've been programmed to believe that they are so hard to get rid of. But yeah, I mean, I plan though on I think I'll always use nicotine because I think nicotine does genuinely help. Helps me to focus, helps to reduce stress, so on and so forth. But once I finish this carton of Dunhills, I am going to try quitting again. And I don't know if I want to take up vaping because vaping, you know, you just get e-juice everywhere. And you know, since you can vape indoors, or at least I can anyways, because my dad does, so I can too. It's all too tempting to just vape throughout the night, and that just gives me an incentive to, you know, every time I wake up, because I wake up multiple times during the night, to stay awake for a little longer, to take a puff and go back to sleep. And you know, usually there's menthol in the juices I choose because I want that throat kick. You know, that menthol will bring up all that phlegm, and I'll be, before I know it, coughing up phlegm, and then I can't get back to sleep. So, you know, I'd probably go with the smokeless tobacco, such as like snus, which, you know, they've been using in Dutch countries and Netherlands. And vaping is almost non-existent there because snus is what people use instead, these little nicotine pouches, because nicotine on its own isn't that bad for you. It's all these fucking chemicals and preservatives. Like, if the government really cared about regulating them in a way that was healthy, they would cut out all these fucking chemicals and make it so it was organic tobacco as opposed to tobacco that has been treated and preserved, or treated with like just this array of like 70 preservatives or whatever that are all very toxic, like, you know, benzene and cyanide and so forth. But yeah, I just wanted to share. I am so fucking stoked, and this seems like it's a stupid thing to be stoked on, but it's been a long time since I've had a real cigarette, and I paid for premium brand cigarettes here in Canada. They all taste the same. They all just taste like fucking cancer, and they're expensive as fuck, and I can't, despite paying 1/4 of the price, you know, and that's not even including tax for native cigarettes. I just can't do it. It's just too hard on my lungs. My lungs already have scar tissue from having pneumonia. So like I can't use Salt Nick vapes, or I can't really smoke light cigarettes because, you know, that lighter amount of smoke, you know, pulling it deeper into my lungs where that scar tissue is, really pisses off said scar tissue. Or with Salt Nick, I believe what's going on is the Salt Nick, it dries out my mouth, my esophagus, and my lungs, so consequently makes me feel more pain as a result. And yeah, so I you know, these aren't viable options for me. You know, the problem is, you know, like I would love to use snus, but you know, the inhaling, exhaling thing is a big part of the psychological addiction that comes with smoking. But yeah, anyways, in the meantime, I'm going to enjoy the ever-living shit out of these. Like, they are just, like, they smell delicious. They smell like, you know, it kind of reminds me of like a good port wine and its aroma. I mean, port wine kind of tastes gross, but the aroma of it is nice if it's a good brand, like if it's an expensive brand of port wine. But yeah, like I'm just really glad to have these, and I'm really just pissed off at my government for just letting this mismarketing continue when they pretend to be oh so concerned with the health of smokers. So, government of Canada, fuck off. Leave us fucking smokers alone. The consequences are evident in the statistics of how native cigarettes have spiked. And, you know, that may be good for, you know, the income of various reserves, but it's terrible for the health of not just the, you know, people like me, white boys who will smoke them when desperate and broke, but they're terrible for the people who are on the res who get them for very, very cheap and smoke them instead. So, you know, it's just I think it's almost like the government knows this and knows that it's going to kill native people, and it's going to keep native people pacified because they're making income that is substantially greater than they would have gotten from something else like fishing or whatever. It's, you know, people are going to get smoking related illnesses a lot faster with native cigarettes, and, you know, people aren't paying taxes on native cigarettes. You know, the native people who sell these cigarettes, they're taxed by the company that produces them out of Ontario, but they're like very minute taxes compared to what, you know, your layperson would pay for a pack of government sanctioned cigarettes in the store. And it's just such an infuriating con, and I just can't stress enough how deplorable I find it. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. Keep on fucking rotting in the free world, friends.